The Shepnaz podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz podcast. I am Pastor Zack, here with my good friend Joe.
Hi.
On our favorite day of the week for
Worship Wednesday.
Woo! Wow, there is power in that button.
You know, this seems completely out of order.
It kind of does. I feel so discombobulated. This is probably bad for somebody with my level of ADHD.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes. It's gonna be great.
You're now, if you're looking on the screen, you're normally sitting in the middle of
My center position.
three people.
Yeah. Not today.
So we've got two big things today, I guess.
Yeah.
One is Noah completely blew off this appointment.
He abandoned us completely. Apparently, he is ill somewhere.
There's
which
rumor.
we're finding out just now.
We'll have a circle of prayer for him later.
Yeah.
I hope he's doing better.
Praying for you.
But there's a switch here.
Switcherooski. Yeah. I'm working on expanding my horizons. I was told one time by a good friend of mine and former boss named Zach O'Day, one of his best pieces of advice he shared with me was never be a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to learn a new trick today, Joe.
Well, so for those that haven't heard over the past couple days, because we have Pastor Rob in Monday and Tuesday. Yeah. So this is technically my last episode on here.
Craziness.
I will be doing some other things.
Yes.
And we like to shuffle the deck around here. So
come on.
Tag your it.
Thanks, man. I'm so excited.
I will say, though, for those that are listening, like I have absolutely loved doing this.
Absolutely.
And but it's time for Zach. You know, he's putting on his daddy pants.
Hey, there we go. I'm a man now. Have to be a man, not a little boy anymore.
So,
but for real though, if I can speak into that as a host.
Oh boy, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You're running this.
Here
thing
we
now.
go, baby. I can't say thank you enough, Joe. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke or to give you a big head here, but like this podcast would not be anything close to what it is if it wasn't for you and your servant's heart and the way that you have just taken this and ran with it and made it something that without you it wouldn't have been. So can we all just give a big old shout out to the one, the only Joe and say thank you?
Well, I haven't taught you how to press that button yet.
Hold on.
No, my goodness.
Hey,
I mean, there's at least one.
Hey, there we go. I'm learning something like that. Nah.
Well, I do appreciate it. You know, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So like we are now in year 4.
That's wild.
And
That's wild.
I know, right? And when this started, I was not the original host. No. I was in the background. But I was actually...
But still just as important of a piece.
Pressing buttons while Pastor Joey, who abandoned us.
This episode brought to you by abandonment. Here we are, folks.
Now, we love Joey. Sometimes he listens, so I got to say that. You know?
Yeah.
But
we love you. Traitor. Just kidding.
And we're still on very good terms.
For sure.
Message from time to time. He's getting a lot of disc golf in down there in Florida. I see it.
Somebody's got to do it
all the time.
Somebody got to do it.
But after about a year of doing that every day, he was moving to Florida, and so then it was like we couldn't talk anybody else into it. And so
the natural thing.
I'm like, I don't know if it's probably too old for you. I don't know if you remember the Life cereal commercials way back when, and they would say, "Get Mikey, he'll do it." He'll do anything.
That was before my time.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's on YouTube out there somewhere. But I'm kind of like Mikey. Like, if you can't get anybody else to do it, just ask me.
Joe will help.
So, So you're kind of doing double duty today.
Yeah.
You're hosting and you brought the content.
Weird.
So
yeah.
I'm pretty much just sitting here watching.
Just hanging out, man. No, actually, I think this is the perfect episode for you.
Uh-oh.
Perfect episode. Perfect episode for you because today I just wanted to dig into a piece of scripture. When we were here on Worship Wednesday, welcome. And a lot of, I think maybe some of the problems that we see in like modern worship ministry and modern worship leaders and just kind of some of the things that we don't really talk about, but often maybe catch with our eyes, is this idea of worship leaders being like their thing that they do is what happens in front of people, right? This is not a new topic to the podcast, but specifically this passage of scripture talking about how, being a servant leader is really what's most important and what will need to happen if you want to see a fruitful worship ministry.
Yeah.
Because like we've said a million times, the important stuff doesn't happen on the platform. Let me rephrase it. The more important things, the more timely things, the more time consuming, and maybe the more spiritually appropriate things that happen for us as worship leaders happens when nobody's looking. Yeah. And so this passage of scripture in particular really points into that. Do you have it pulled up by chance, Joe?
Well, I wasn't texting a friend here.
I know. I trust you.
Actually, I was looking that up.
Yeah,
and,
Matthew 23.
Yeah, I can do that.
Do you want to read it? All the way down to through verse 12 would be lovely.
All right. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees are the official interpreters of the law of Moses. So practice and obey whatever they tell you, but don't follow their example. For they don't practice what they teach. They crush people with unbearable religious demands and never lift a finger to ease the burden. Everything they do is for show. On their arms, they wear extra wide prayer boxes and scripture verses inside, and they wear robes with extra long tassels. And they love to sit at the head of the table in banquets and in the seats of honor in the synagogues. They love to receive respect, greetings as they walk in the marketplaces and to be called rabbi. Don't let anyone call you rabbi, for you have only one teacher, and all of you are equal as brothers and sisters. And don't address anyone here on earth as Father, for only God is in heaven is your Father. And don't let anyone call you teacher, for you have only one teacher, the Messiah. The greatest among you must be a servant, but those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted.
Boom. Now.
Mic drop.
Mic drop indeed. Because when you look at, being a worship leader, and specifically somebody who's like, the leader of a song or somebody that's up front doing the actual singing leading portion of a song. When you look at that, you're not necessarily like, in my mind, maybe specifically is like, I'm not thinking immediately like that person's got a servant's heart. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can see that coming through their worship, but like when I think of servant leader, when I think of that, I think of this context of what it's saying where you're doing the things that nobody's going to see. You're doing the stuff nobody pays attention to. Nobody even notices that's happening. Like one of the things, and now hear me out. I want to preface this by saying, know my heart, because I'm not saying I have it perfectly figured out. But there are things that I've noticed over the years that God has really tried to like work on me through. And maybe a perfect example for us here at Shepherd that nobody notices, cares about, or sees unless you're directly affected is our green room situation. I'm just going to say it. And again, I'm not saying this for a pat on the back. I'm saying this because for a long time it annoyed the crap out of me that we have a trash can in the little bathroom in our green room. And it is...
AKA in Home Depot 5-gallon bucket.
Right. Well, we upgraded to stealing one from another room. It's a real trash can now, which maybe is the problem because it's much larger than the Home Depot bucket. And it has the same problem where it finds itself overflowing almost on a weekly basis, more so than it does finding its way to the dumpster.
So you thought to yourself, oh, the reason this little one is overflowing at 5 gallons, by the way.
Yes.
That reason it's overflowing is because it's too small.
Too small. Yeah.
If only I get a bigger one, people wouldn't do that.
Exactly.
But then it's still overflowing.
Add a few more gallons of just stuff for overflow. And to be honest, like for the longest time, I was just so annoyed by it. I'm like, we have a custodial team that we pay to be here to clean this. We have at least 20, 30 people coming through this specific room on a Sunday morning, and they see it's overflowing. What do? Just throw another empty bag of chips in.
Might as well.
Or a water bottle that's had 3 sips taken out of it. But I'll tell you what was the crux point, right? Because there was a day I was just sitting back, doing what all of us good pastors do and complaining to myself. And I looked in the trash can and I noticed something in that can just happened to be a bunch of Chick-fil-A bags and half-eaten Chick-fil-A that me and my family had stuffed into there and did not decide to take out. And it was something that, like, it sounds silly and it sounds simple, but it really gut checked me as a leader. I'm like, what kind of leader am I to sit here and complain about something that somebody else didn't do when I could simply do what the Lord has called me to do? Be a servant leader. That means it's my job to do the little things too.
Yeah.
My job is not to be the head honcho of a ministry. My job is to let the Lord lead me the way he wants to lead me. And if in that moment that means take out the trash, you take out the trash. And I've noticed over the years that when you lead from that place, when people see you doing the little things that nobody really wants to do, it will just magnify and multiply your big picture leadership tenfold. Because it's, how do I say this? Because again, I feel like a dum-dum for doing that moment of complaining. Because I'm like, how am I going to expect other people to take this trash out? And how am I going to expect other people to keep this room clean or to, actually treat this space with respect and reverence if I'm not willing to do it myself?
Right.
And literally it calls us to do that in Scripture. I mean, Jesus himself said, like, I've come to serve, not to be served. Like, that's what I came to do, is to serve others. And so if I'm supposed to live like Jesus, then I need to live like Jesus, when he's literally washing his disciples' dirty feet.
Well, and for those that don't know, you could come around, 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning, and you'll find Pastor Rob probably with a sweeper in his hand, sweeping the carpet or straightening up chairs or and he models that. He's not doing that for show. Right. And certainly doesn't, he might be doing it to satisfy his OCD, but
that is a heavy piece of it, I'm sure.
But it's very hard to complain about if you're asked to do a menial task when you know that the person that's leading you is going to set the example by doing it first.
100%.
There was this is not a commentary on whether it's a good one or a bad one or whether you should watch it or shouldn't watch it. So take it with a grain of salt. But there was a Mel Gibson movie called We Were Soldiers, and it's based off of true story. And one of the lines in that movie that kind of stuck with me for as far as like a leadership example, I will be the first one to step on the field and I will be the last one to step off. Yeah. And because of that, his men were loyal to him and basically would, we'll follow you wherever because we know that you're not going to ask us to do anything that you haven't already done yourself. Right. And that's kind of the whole idea of the servant leadership. Definitely we saw ultimately Christ, the ultimate example of servant leadership, of literally laying down his life for us, and we haven't been asked to do that, so we're not being asked to do any more than he's already done for us. Right.
Exactly. And I think you touched on something I wanted to touch on, and we're not here to like give him the big head or make this the Praise Rob podcast, but that was one thing that I had seen that kind of leadership in Rob even before I took the job here at Shepherd. And it made me really appreciate him as a leader. So I'm like, if he asked me to do something, it's not going to be something he wouldn't be willing to go do before me. And I look at the things he's doing down in Logan at the campground. Like anytime he's sending, if you're on the district, I'm sure you've received one of the emails of like, hey, we're doing a work day. How many times I've seen him come in on a Sunday with cuts on his bald head because he was down there banging his head on beams as he was trying to lift them up and screw them in. Like he is a leader that will ask people to come help, but he's going to be right down there getting his hands dirty as well. Yeah. And that made me really appreciate him as a leader. And that's, the kind of leader I want to be, not only because my pastor models it, but my Jesus modeled it even more importantly. And so when I think of what, in a worship context, there's a lot of ego in worship. There's a lot of pride in worship of like, I sound way better when I lead that song, or this person doesn't sing it as good as me, or I could play that drum part better. There's always a sense of ego because it's an art form, right? Like it's this artistic expression through worship. And because of that, in the culture that we live in, like a lot of times it's easy to forget why we get up there to do that. And so having this kind of mentality, especially in verse 12 here, for those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. I think that's a really cool, but also really should be borderline scary reminder for every person that, enters into ministry in any capacity. I've talked about this on the podcast too, and I'm not here to bash anybody, but like having come from the touring Christian rock world that I came from, I saw a lot of, quote unquote, failed touring musicians who were like, well, I can get a steady music gig at a church, right? And they didn't do it because they wanted to go worship Jesus. They did it because they have a built-in consistent audience that comes every single Sunday who's going to write them a consistent paycheck. Yeah. And the sad reality is I've seen so many of those people fall away and get humbled. I mean, like what the scripture says, they couldn't humble themselves, so they got humbled. Yeah. But I've also seen the opposite. I think of just a couple weekends ago, I got to go experience a cool kind of like intimate training for worship pastors with Stephanie Gretzinger. And she's a person that she's done it all as far as the worship world goes. She has led every major conference. She's put out so many records, and so many hundreds of thousands of people have led her songs. And yet she was like, I got to step away from this because it's not honoring the Lord the way that I want him to be honored. And on paper, you're like, you're walking away from something that's like making you who you are. Mm-hmm. Like so many people would kill to be in your position. But because she did that, she now has a more deep impact. And it's actually a really more widespread impact on what the Lord has called her to do, because she's like, it's not about me. And I don't think she ever wanted it to be. But I think there is always a sense of, when you're standing in front of tens of thousands of people and they're singing your song, it's like, oh, look what I did. So to step away from that, it takes somebody to be really humble. So maybe a warning for all of us, in regardless of what our position is, because it doesn't have to be on a platform for people to have that mentality too. Yep. I think we see that a lot with like people on social media, and look at me, look what I've done, or if you've ever ran into one of those tech people that's like, I have the power to do whatever I want, and if you make me upset, I'm going to mess your microphone up. It's like, right. There's this lack of a humble heart. Yeah. But it reminds us in scripture that if we don't humble ourselves, we will be humbled. And being humbled is a lot more painful than humbling yourself.
For sure.
So let's all just walk into this with a humble heart. What do you think, Joe?
I think it's time to press the button.
Yeah, it's time to press the button.
It's like, oh boy.
Or see if I can remember which one. All right, it's that one.
Yeah.
Well, hey, as I'm still learning how to do this, we thank you so much for joining us today. Man, maybe you're going through something where the Lord is just reminding you to stay humble. Maybe you have questions about what that even looks like. Please feel free to reach out to us at podcast@shepnaz.org.
There it is.
Or hit us up on the socials. We'd love to hear from you. For Joe, I'm Pastor Zack. Have a wonderful day.
There it is.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.
Nothing blew up. Press and hold.
Just press.